You cheated. I planned. That's the difference between us.
The receipt fell out of Vanessa's purse like a confession. Boutique Hotel Marin, $237. Tuesday afternoon. The same Tuesday she told me she was working late on quarterly reports. I stood in our kitchen, holding that piece of paper, and felt something cold settle in my chest. Not anger, not yet. Just the familiar calm that used to come over me in Fallujah when incoming mortars started whistling overhead. The kind of calm that meant someone was about to get hurt, and it wasn't going to be me. "Eddie?" Vanessa called from upstairs. "Did you see my purse anywhere?" "Kitchen counter," I replied, sliding the receipt back where I'd found it. She came down wearing that black dress I'd bought her for our anniversary, the one that used to make my pulse quicken. Now it just looked expensive and empty, like everything else about her lately. "Thanks, babe." She kissed my cheek, but it felt rehearsed. "Don't wait up. Jennifer's going through her divorce drama again." Jennifer. Right. The friend who'd been conveniently divorced 3 times and always needed Vanessa's shoulder to cry on. Usually on Tuesday evenings, usually until midnight. "Drive safe," I said. She grabbed her keys and left, and I listened to her Mercedes pull out of the driveway. Then I walked to the garage and opened the metal toolbox I'd kept locked for 15 years. Inside, my old Marine notebook, a burner phone still in its packaging, cash, and a 9mm I'd never told her about. Not because I planned to use it, but because a man who'd seen what I'd seen in Iraq learned to keep options open. I pulled out the notebook and opened to a fresh page. At the top, I wrote, "Vanessa, pattern analysis." Day 1 of documentation had begun. The thing about my wife was that she'd never learned to lie properly. 15 years of marriage to a man who'd spent 3 tours reading enemy movements, and she still thought she was clever. The late nights had started 6 months ago. First once a week, then twice, now almost every Tuesday and Thursday like clockwork. She'd grown distant but not guilty. That was the tell. Guilt made people jumpy, apologetic, overly affectionate. Vanessa had become entitled. She'd started making little comments about our bed life being predictable, about wanting adventures, about how some of her friends had arrangements with their husbands. I'd played dumb, nodded along, let her think she was training me to accept what was coming. But Eddie Halston didn't get trained. Eddie Halston did the training. 3 days later, I was installing a security system. Top-of-the-line cameras, motion sensors, the works. Vanessa thought it was about the break-ins happening 2 neighborhoods over. "Isn't this a bit much?" she asked, watching me mount a discreet camera in the living room corner. "Rather be safe than sorry," I said. "You never know who might try to get into our house when we're not looking." She didn't catch the double meaning. She never did. My nephew Kenny came over that weekend to help with the tech setup. Kenny was 18, genius level with computers, and owed me for keeping him out of juvie when he'd hacked his high school's grading system. "Uncle Eddie, this is some serious surveillance gear," he said, configuring the cameras to upload to a cloud server only I could access. "You expecting burglars or something?" Something like that. By Monday, I had angles on every room, motion-activated recording, and facial recognition software that would ping my phone whenever someone unfamiliar entered the house. Kenny had also recovered 3 months of Vanessa's deleted text messages from her cloud backup. The messages painted a picture that made me want to put my fist through the wall. But I didn't. Marines don't break when they're angry. They get focused. Her affair partner was named Jamar Lewis, 29 years old, bartender at a place called Fusion downtown. And based on his social media, the kind of guy who took shirtless mirror selfies and called women females in his posts. But the texts weren't just about Zex, they were about me. V. He's so clueless, it's almost sad. J. Does he suspect anything? V. Eddie, please. The man thinks the most exciting thing in life is changing his truck's oil. I could bring you home for dinner, and he'd probably ask if you want to watch the game. J. Oh, Mao. Sounds like a real alpha male. 5. He's sweet, but God, so boring. Like being married to a robot. The conversation went on like that for weeks. My wife and her boyfriend laughing at the dumb husband who couldn't see what was right in front of him. I took screenshots of everything. Wednesday evening, Vanessa brought up the subject I'd been waiting for. "Eddie, honey," she said over dinner, "I've been thinking about our relationship." I kept eating my meatloaf. "Yeah?" "I love you, but I feel like we've gotten into such a rut. I was reading this article about married couples who found ways to explore their boundaries. What kind of boundaries? She took a deep breath, like she was working up courage. Open marriages, where both partners are free to have experiences with other people, but they're honest about it. I looked up from my plate. You want to see other people? I want us both to have that freedom. It could bring us closer together. Take the pressure off our bed life. I nodded slowly, like I was considering it. That's an interesting idea. Her face lit up with relief. Really? You're not angry? Vanessa, I want you to be happy. If that's what you need, we can talk about it. She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. I love you so much for being understanding. That night, while she was in the shower, I created a fake social media profile. Generic male name, attractive photos I'd pulled from a stock photo site, and a job description that would appeal to status-conscious women. Financial consultant from San Francisco, in town for business. Then I waited. It took exactly 4 days for Vanessa to message my fake profile. The conversation started innocent enough, but within hours she was flirting, and by the end of the week she was sending photos taken in our bedroom. Wearing lingerie I'd bought her. My phone buzzed with a notification from the security system. Motion detected in the living room. I was at work, 40 minutes away, and Vanessa wasn't supposed to be home until 6. I opened the live feed and saw them. Vanessa was on the couch, laughing at something Jamar had said. He was making himself comfortable, feet up on my coffee table, drinking beer from my refrigerator. She was wearing the red dress I'd bought her for Valentine's Day. I watched him lean over and whisper something in her ear. She giggled and pushed him playfully, but didn't move away when he put his arm around her. This was happening in my house. On my couch, with my beer, I closed the app, finished my workday, and drove home. But first, I made a stop. The sporting goods store where I'd bought my truck had a section for tactical gear. I picked up a few items, zip ties, duct tape, and a small digital recorder. Nothing illegal, nothing that would raise questions. Then I drove home to have a conversation with my wife. I pulled into the driveway at exactly 5:47 p.m. Jamar's car wasn't there, but the security footage showed him leaving only 20 minutes earlier. They were getting comfortable, sloppy. Vanessa was in the kitchen, cooking dinner like nothing had happened. Hey, babe, she said, not looking up from the stove. How was work? Same as always. You? Quiet day. Jennifer might stop by later. Jennifer, still using the same lie. I almost respected her commitment to the fiction. Actually, I said, I was thinking we should talk more about that open marriage thing. She turned around, wooden spoon in hand. Really? I've been doing some research. Apparently it's more common than I thought. Some couples even date together, share experiences. Her eyes went wide. You'd be interested in that? Maybe. I think I'd want to meet any guy you were seeing, though. You know, make sure he's treating you right. The look on her face was priceless. She was trying to figure out if I was being genuine or setting a trap. But Vanessa had always been too confident in her own cleverness. That's so mature of you, Eddie. I try to be reasonable. Over the next week, I watched their relationship escalate through the cameras. Jamar was coming over twice a week now, always when I was at work. They weren't just having Zex. They were playing house. He'd bring groceries, she'd cook for him, they'd watch movies on my couch, and they talked about me, a lot. The audio was crystal clear. Does he really not know? Jamar asked one Thursday afternoon. Trust me, if Eddie suspected anything, he'd be asking a million questions. The man's like a bloodhound when he gets paranoid. Remember when I was 15 minutes late coming home from work and he called 3 times? Maybe he's just gotten soft. Maybe. Or maybe he's finally growing up and realizing I need more than what he can give me. That was rich, coming from a woman whose idea of adventure was trying a new restaurant. I started phase 2 of my plan that weekend. Kenny came over to upgrade the router, but really to help me access Vanessa's phone remotely. Within an hour, I could see every text, every call, every app she used. More importantly, I could see her location at all times. Uncle Eddie, Kenny said while we worked, why don't you just confront her? This is a lot of work to catch someone cheating. Because confronting someone only gives you their side of the story. Evidence gives you the truth. But what are you going to do with all this? I looked at my nephew, this kid who reminded me so much of myself at his age. Smart, angry, impatient for justice. I'm going to teach your aunt that actions have consequences. The following Tuesday, Vanessa announced she was going to Jennifer's again. I told her to have fun, waited an hour, then drove to Fusion. The place was exactly what I'd expected. Dim lighting, overpriced cocktails, and music loud enough to drown out conversation. Jamar was behind the bar, exactly as good-looking as his photos, exactly as arrogant as his texts suggested. I ordered a beer and watched him work. He flirted with every woman who approached the bar, collected phone numbers, and made jokes about the desperate housewives who came in during happy hour. When his shift ended, I followed him outside. "Jamar Lewis?" He turned around, probably expecting a friend or maybe a customer. When he saw me, his face went blank. "Do I know you?" "I'm Eddie Halston, Vanessa's husband." For a split second, I saw panic flash across his face. Then he recovered, put on a cocky smile. "Oh, hey, man, yeah, Vanessa's mentioned you. How's it going?" "It's going well. I wanted to talk to you about my wife." "Your wife?" He was trying to play dumb, but his body language had changed. Shoulders tense, weight shifted to the balls of his feet. "She tells me you two have been getting friendly. We're just friends, man. She comes into the bar sometimes. We talk, that's it." I nodded slowly. "That's funny because she told me she's been having sex with you." The color drained from his face. "Look, if there's been some misunderstanding." "No misunderstanding. See, Vanessa and I have what you might call an arrangement. She's free to see other people, as long as I know about it. And as long as those people understand the rules. Rules. First rule, she's still my wife. Second rule, what happens between you two happens on your time, not mine. Third rule, you treat her with respect, or you answer to me." He was staring at me now, trying to figure out if I was serious or crazy. "I respect Vanessa, man. She's a great woman." "I'm sure you do. But just so we're clear, Jamar, I know where you work, I know where you live, and I know you're on probation for attack. So if you do anything to hurt my wife, or if you start thinking you can take my place, we're going to have a problem." He swallowed hard. "I'm not trying to take anybody's place." "Good. Then we understand each other." I turned to leave, then stopped. "Oh, and Jamar? Next time you're at my house, use a coaster. Those tables were expensive." I walked away, leaving him standing in the parking lot with his mouth open. That night, Vanessa came home glowing. "Jennifer says hi," she said, kissing my cheek. "Tell her I said hello back." She went upstairs to shower, and I checked the security footage from earlier. There was Jamar, pacing around my living room, talking on his phone. Based on his gestures, he was agitated. My phone buzzed with a text from Vanessa's number. "Eddie met Jamar tonight. He knows about us." "What do I do?" The response came back immediately. "Chill, he's just marking territory. Dude probably gets off on it." "Are you sure?" "Trust me, baby. Some guys are into that stuff. He's giving you permission because he likes it." I screenshotted the conversation and added it to my growing file. They thought I was a betrayed man. They thought I was getting some twisted pleasure from sharing my wife. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The next morning, I made 3 phone calls. First, to Jamar's probation officer. Anonymous tip about a bartender who might be serving booze while on probation for attack. They'd have to investigate. Second, to Vanessa's workplace HR department. Anonymous report about an employee using company property for personal business. I'd noticed she'd been taking a lot of personal calls during work hours. Third, to my lawyer. "Greg, it's Eddie Halston. I need to talk to you about divorce proceedings." "Eddie? Jesus, I haven't heard from you in 5 years. What's going on?" "My wife is having an affair. I want to know my options." "Christ, I'm sorry to hear that. How much evidence do you have?" "Enough to bury her." "Okay, can you come in this week? We'll talk strategy." "One more thing, Greg. This needs to be ironclad. No loopholes, no second chances, no reconciliation." "Understood, Eddie." "Are you doing okay?" "I'm doing exactly what needs to be done." Friday afternoon, I left work early. Told my boss I had a family emergency that needed handling. Not exactly a lie. The security app on my phone had been pinging notifications all day. Motion in the living room. Motion in the kitchen. Motion in the bedroom. I drove home with my jaw clenched and my hands steady on the wheel. The front door was unlocked when I got there. My own front door, and I had to turn the handle because my wife's boyfriend was too comfortable to worry about basic security. I could hear music playing from the living room, something smooth and R&B, real romantic. I set down my work bag and walked toward the sound. They were on my couch. Vanessa was sitting sideways across Jamar's lap, legs draped over the armrest, wine glass in her hand. She was wearing that little black cocktail dress, the one I'd bought her for Christmas. Her shoes were kicked off, her hair was down, and she was laughing at something he'd said. Jamar had his arms around her waist, holding her like she belonged to him. They saw me at the same time. Vanessa's laugh died in her throat, but she didn't move. Didn't jump up, didn't look guilty, didn't even have the decency to look ashamed. Instead, she smiled. "Eddie," she said, raising her wine glass like we were at a dinner party, "you're home early." Jamar was looking back and forth between us, trying to read the situation. His hands were still on my wife's waist. "I am," I said. Vanessa took a sip of wine, never breaking eye contact with me. "Jamar and I were just talking about our arrangement. You know, the one we discussed. Were you? I hope you don't mind that I invited him over. I thought maybe you'd like to meet him properly." She was testing me, pushing to see how far she could go, how much I'd take. In her mind, this was the moment where I either accepted my role as the betrayed husband or made a scene that would justify whatever she did next. Jamar finally found his voice. "Hey, Eddie. Vanessa was just telling me about how progressive you guys are." "Progressive," I repeated. Vanessa giggled. "I told him how open-minded you are. How you want me to explore my needs." "And what did you tell him about my needs?" She paused, wine glass halfway to her lips. For the first time, uncertainty flickered across her face. "Your needs? Did you tell him that I need respect in my own house? Did you tell him that I need my wife to at least pretend she gives a damn about our marriage? Or did you just tell him that I'm the kind of man who likes watching other men touch his wife?" Jamar's hands dropped from her waist. "Look, man, if there's been some kind of miscommunication..." "There's been no miscommunication," I said, walking closer. "There's been a lie." Vanessa set down her wine glass. "Eddie, what are you talking about?" "I'm talking about the fact that you've been screwing this piece of crap in my house, on my furniture, with my money, and then laughing about what a pathetic husband I am." The room went dead quiet, except for the music still playing from her phone. "I never said..." "You never said what? That I was clueless? That I was boring? That being married to me was like being married to a robot?" Her face went white. Jamar stood up, pushing Vanessa off his lap. "I think I should go." "No," I said. "I think you should stay right where you are." He looked at me, then at the door, then back at me. He was a big guy, probably worked out, definitely thought he could handle himself. But there was something in my voice that made him hesitate. "Eddie," Vanessa said, "let's talk about this rationally." "Rationally?" I laughed, and it came out harder than I'd intended. "You want to talk rationally about how you've been disrespecting me for months? About how you brought your boyfriend into my house and sat on his lap like I'm too stupid to understand what I'm seeing? It's not like that. It's exactly like that." I walked over to where they'd been sitting. Vanessa had backed away, putting the coffee table between us. Jamar was still standing by the couch, looking like he wanted to run but didn't want to seem weak. "Here's what's going to happen," I said. "Jamar is going to leave my house and never come back. And you, Vanessa, are going to explain to me why you think I'm the kind of man who would tolerate this." "Eddie, you said you were okay with an open marriage." "I said I wanted you to be happy. I never said I wanted to be humiliated." Jamar took a step toward the door. "Look, I'm just going to..." "You're going to what?" I turned to face him. "You're going to sneak out the back like a coward? After sitting in my living room, drinking my beer with your hands on my wife? I didn't know you had a problem with it, man. She said you were cool with everything. She said a lot of things. She also said I was too stupid to figure out what was going on. What do you think about that assessment?" He looked at Vanessa, then back at me. "I think maybe there's been a misunderstanding." "There's been no misunderstanding. There's been disrespect, and disrespect has consequences." I grabbed him by the front of his shirt and shoved him toward the sliding glass door that led to the backyard. He stumbled, but caught himself. "Eddie, stop!" Vanessa screamed. I slid open the door and pushed Jamar outside. He tried to resist, but 15 years of construction work and 3 tours in Iraq had left me stronger than some bartender who spent his days making cosmopolitans. "This is attack, man," he said, trying to back away. "No, this is a property owner removing a trespasser." I shoved him again, harder this time. He fell backward into the patio furniture, knocking over a chair. "Get up," I said. "Eddie, please," I said, "get up." He struggled to his feet and I punched him, not hard enough to do permanent damage, but hard enough to make a point. He went down again, liquid starting to flow from his nose. Vanessa was screaming from inside the house, but I could barely hear her over the roar in my ears. "Here's the thing about respect, Jamar," I said, standing over him. "It's something you give, or it's something that gets taken from you." I grabbed the garden hose and turned it on full blast, soaking him from head to toe. He curled up on the ground, sputtering and cursing. "Don't come back to my house. Don't call my wife, don't text her, don't message her, don't look at her if you see her in public. Do you understand me?" He nodded, water streaming down his face. "I can't hear you. I understand," he gasped. "Good." I turned off the hose and walked back inside. Vanessa was standing by the kitchen counter, phone in her hand. "Are you calling the police?" I asked. "I should." "Go ahead." "Tell them how your boyfriend was trespassing in your husband's house and got asked to leave." She stared at me, phone still in her hand. "You've lost your mind," she said. No, I found my spine. I walked over to where Jamar had dropped his phone and picked it up. The screen was cracked but still functional. I scrolled through his recent messages until I found what I was looking for. "Vanessa," I said, "come here." "No, come here and look at this." Reluctantly, she walked over. I held up the phone so she could see the screen. It was a text conversation between Jamar and someone named Derek. Jamar: "Dude, this chick is so stupid." Derek: "The married one?" Jamar: "Yeah, she thinks I'm falling for her, lol." Derek: "Easy money?" Jamar: "Easiest I've ever made." "She's buying me drinks, giving me cash, even offered to pay my rent this month." Derek: "What about the husband?" Jamar: "What about him? Dude's a total beta." "She could probably bring me home for dinner, and he'd ask if I want seconds." Derek: "You should film some of this crap. Bet there's dudes who'd pay good money to watch." Jamar: "Already thought of that. She's so desperate for attention, she'd probably agree to it." Vanessa's face went through about 6 different expressions as she read. Confusion, realization, horror, rage. "He was using me," she whispered. "He was using you," I confirmed. "And you were using me. Difference is, I'm not stupid enough to let it continue." She looked up at me, tears starting to form in her eyes. "Eddie, I'm sorry. I didn't know." "You didn't know because you didn't want to know. You were too busy feeling superior to your boring husband to notice that your boyfriend was laughing at you behind your back." "What do you want me to say?" "I want you to say nothing. I want you to pack a bag and leave. This is my house too." "Actually, it's not." I pulled out my phone and showed her a document I'd photographed earlier. A quitclaim deed signed 6 months ago, transferring her ownership interest in the house to my LLC. "Remember when you signed those papers for the refinancing? That wasn't refinancing. That was you signing away your claim to this property." Her mouth fell open. "That's fraud. That's legal. You signed it voluntarily in front of a notary after being advised to review it with an attorney, which you didn't do because you trusted your husband to handle the boring financial stuff. You can't do this. I already did it." Outside, I could hear Jamar's car starting up. At least he was smart enough to know when he was beaten. Vanessa looked around the living room like she was seeing it for the first time. "Where am I supposed to go?" "I don't know, and I don't care, but you're not staying here. Eddie, please, we can work this out." "It was a mistake. The mistake was mine. I trusted you to be better than this." I walked to the front closet and pulled out a suitcase. An old one, the kind with wheels that stick and a handle that doesn't retract properly. "Pack whatever you can fit in here. Everything else stays. You can't just throw me out like garbage." "I'm not throwing you out like garbage. Garbage gets put on the curb for pickup. You get to walk out under your own power with some dignity intact." She took the suitcase from me, hand shaking. "How long have you known?" "Long enough. Why didn't you say something sooner?" I looked at her, this woman I'd loved for 15 years. This stranger who'd been living in my house and lying to my face. "Because I wanted to see how far you'd go. I wanted to know exactly who I was married to. And now you know?" "Now I know." She stood there for a long moment, suitcase in her hand, looking like she wanted to say something else. But there was nothing left to say. 20 minutes later, she came back downstairs with the suitcase packed and her purse over her shoulder. This isn't over, Eddie. Yes, it is. She walked to the door, then turned back. What about our marriage? What about for better or worse? This is the worst part, and you chose to make it worse with someone else. The door closed behind her, and I was alone in my house for the first time in months. I walked to the kitchen, opened a beer, and sat down at the table to call my lawyer. Greg's office smelled like leather and old coffee, the kind of place where serious business got handled by serious men. I'd been there exactly once before, when we'd bought the house. And Greg had looked exactly the same then as he did now. Sharp suit, gray hair, eyes that missed nothing. Eddie, he said, shaking my hand, you look like hell. I feel like hell. Coffee? Yeah. He poured 2 cups from a machine that probably cost more than my truck. So, your wife is having an affair. Was having an affair. I ended it. How? Firmly. Greg raised an eyebrow but didn't push. Tell me what you want. I want her gone. Permanently. I want the house, the cars, the savings accounts, everything. I want her to walk away with nothing but the clothes on her back and a lesson learned. California is a community property state, Eddie. Even with a prenup, she's entitled to half of everything acquired during the marriage. She signed a quitclaim deed 6 months ago. I pulled out the paperwork and slid it across his desk. Greg put on his reading glasses and studied it. This is thorough, he said. When did you have this prepared? When I started noticing the signs. You've been planning this for 6 months? I've been preparing for this possibility for 6 months. There's a difference. Greg leaned back in his chair. Eddie, I have to ask, did you coerce her into signing this? She signed it voluntarily. I told her it was for refinancing purposes, which it was. The fact that it also transferred ownership is a detail she chose not to investigate. That's ethically gray. Is it legal? It's legal. Then I don't care about the ethics. Greg made some notes on a legal pad. What about the cars? Both registered to my LLC. Savings accounts? Moved to accounts she doesn't have access to. Credit cards? Canceled this morning. Greg set down his pen and looked at me. Jesus, Eddie. You really did think of everything. I told you, I've been planning this. What about her stuff? Personal belongings, clothes, jewelry? She can have whatever she can carry. Everything else stays. Eddie, look, I understand you're angry. I'm not angry. Angry is what you get when someone cuts you off in traffic. This is something else. What is it then? It's justice. Greg was quiet for a long moment. Okay, I can file the paperwork this week. But Eddie, you need to understand that even with all this preparation, she can still fight it. She can claim fraud, coercion, any number of things. Let her try. She might have grounds. I pulled out my phone and showed him a video. It was security footage from my living room, showing Vanessa and Jamar on the couch, his hands all over her, her laughing and kissing him. She can claim fraud all she wants. I have 6 months of evidence showing infidelity, breach of marital contract, and willful abandonment of matrimonial duties. Greg watched the video with the expression of a man who'd seen everything twice. How much footage do you have? Hours. Photos, text messages, financial records showing money she spent on him, hotel receipts, restaurant bills. Everything. This is a lot of evidence, Eddie. I'm a thorough man. And if she tries to claim you're violating her privacy, she violated our marriage. Privacy is something married people give up when they bring strangers into the marital home. Greg closed the file and leaned forward. Eddie, I've known you for 15 years. You're one of the most level-headed guys I know. But this is comprehensive in a way that makes me worry about you. Don't worry about me. Worry about getting my divorce finalized. What about alimony? What about it? She's going to ask for it. She's not getting it. Eddie, the court might. The court might what? Award alimony to a woman who committed infidelity, stole marital funds to support her boyfriend, and abandoned her matrimonial duties? Based on what grounds? Greg was quiet for a moment. You've really thought this through. Every angle. Okay. I'll file the papers this week. But Eddie, I need you to promise me something. What? Whatever you're feeling right now, whatever you're planning to do next, don't do anything that could hurt your case. Don't contact her. Don't maltreat her. Don't do anything that could be construed as intimidation or stalking. I don't need to contact her. The lawyers can handle everything from here. Good. And Eddie? Yeah? Maybe you should talk to someone. A counselor, a therapist, somebody. This kind of betrayal, it does things to a man's head. I stood up and shook his hand. My head is fine, Greg. It's the first time it's been clear in months. I left his office and drove straight to the bank. My bank, where I'd done business for 20 years, where the manager knew me by name. Mr. Halston, said Janet, walking me back to her office. What can I do for you today? I need to close some accounts and transfer some funds. Of course. Which accounts? I handed her a list I'd prepared. Every joint account, every shared credit card, every financial tie that bound me to Vanessa. This is quite a few accounts, Mr. Halston. Is everything all right? I'm getting divorced. I want to make sure my wife doesn't have access to drain our accounts before the paperwork is finalized. Janet nodded with the professional sympathy bank managers learn to deploy. I understand. Let me pull up your accounts. 20 minutes later, Vanessa Halston had been removed from every account, every card, every financial instrument she'd had access to for the past 15 years. I transferred the funds to accounts in my name only, accounts at a different bank, accounts she didn't know existed. Is there anything else I can help you with today, Mr. Halston? Actually, yes. I need you to flag any attempts to access the closed accounts. If my wife tries to use a card or access an account, I want to know immediately. We can certainly set up alerts for that. Good. I walked out of the bank feeling lighter than I had in months. Every financial tie severed, every safety net removed. Vanessa was about to learn what life looked like without the cushion I'd provided for 15 years. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. This is Vanessa. We need to talk. I deleted it without responding. Another buzz. Eddie, please, I'm staying at a motel. We can work this out. Delete. I made a mistake, but throwing me away isn't the answer. Delete. At least let me get my things from the house. I typed back. Your things are in boxes on the front porch. Everything else belongs to the house. You can't just steal everything we built together. I didn't steal anything. I protected my assets from a cheating wife. There's a difference. I'm calling a lawyer. Good. Tell them to call my lawyer. I blocked the number and drove home. True to my word, I'd packed her belongings into 3 cardboard boxes and left them on the front porch. Clothes, jewelry, personal items, photo albums. Nothing valuable, nothing that had been purchased with my money, nothing that mattered. The boxes were gone when I got home. She'd collected her things and left without trying to contact me again. For now. That evening, my nephew Kenny called. Uncle Eddie, you okay? Mom said Aunt Vanessa moved out. I'm fine, Kenny. We're getting divorced. Damn, I'm sorry, man. Don't be sorry. It's for the best. Is there anything I can do? I thought about that. Kenny was smart, loyal, and owed me enough favors to keep quiet about whatever I asked him to do. Actually, there is something. You still have access to those social media monitoring tools you used for your computer science project? Yeah, why? I need you to keep an eye on some people. Let me know if they post anything interesting. Who? Jamar Lewis and Vanessa. I want to know what they're saying online, who they're talking to, where they're going. Uncle Eddie, that sounds like stalking. It's not stalking if they're posting it publicly. It's research. Kenny was quiet for a moment. Okay, but if this gets weird, I'm out. It won't get weird. It'll just get even. The next morning, I got a call from Vanessa's workplace. Mr. Halston? This is Sandra from HR at Pinnacle Insurance. We need to speak with your wife about some irregularities in her work performance. She doesn't live here anymore. You'll have to contact her directly. We've been trying, but her phone goes straight to voicemail. Do you have an alternate number? No, I don't. Mr. Halston, we have security footage of Miss Halston using company property for personal business. She's been conducting personal phone calls and video chats during work hours, and there are concerns about inappropriate use of company internet. I almost smiled. The anonymous tip I'd made was bearing fruit. That's between you and her. I can't help you. If you do hear from her, please have her contact us immediately. Her position is in jeopardy. I'll pass that along if I see her. I hung up and checked my security app. No activity at the house, no attempts to access the property. Vanessa was staying away, at least for now. That afternoon, Kenny called with an update. Uncle Eddie, you're going to want to hear this. Jamar posted something on his Instagram. What kind of something? A picture of his face all bruised up with the caption, "When you mess with the wrong woman's husband." He's trying to make it look like he got jumped by some jealous husband. What's the response? Mostly people telling him he's an idiot for messing with married women. But get this, his ex-girlfriend commented. What did she say? She said, maybe now you'll learn to keep your hands to yourself. Some women aren't worth the trouble. Then she posted in the replies that he's been scamming women for money and that this isn't the first time he's gotten beat up by a husband. Interesting. It gets better. Vanessa commented on the post. What did she say? She said, I'm so sorry this happened. My husband is not usually violent. Like she's defending you, but also throwing you under the bus. Screenshot everything. Already did. That evening, I got a visit from 2 police officers. Mr. Halston, we'd like to ask you some questions about an incident involving Jamar Lewis. Come in. I led them to the living room and offered them coffee, which they declined. Mr. Lewis says you attacked him on your property yesterday. Mr. Lewis was trespassing on my property. I asked him to leave. He says you punched him and sprayed him with a hose. He fell while I was escorting him off my property. The hose was an accident. The older officer, a sergeant with gray hair and tired eyes, looked around the room. Mr. Halston, is there any reason Mr. Lewis would be on your property? He was here with my wife. We're getting divorced. I see. And you asked him to leave? I told him he wasn't welcome in my house and that he needed to go. Did you threaten him? I told him not to come back. The younger officer was taking notes. Mr. Lewis says you grabbed him and threw him outside. Mr. Lewis is lying. I asked him to leave. He refused, so I escorted him to the door. The sergeant leaned forward. Mr. Halston, I'm going to be straight with you. This looks like a domestic situation that got out of hand. Nobody got seriously hurt, and frankly, most men would have done the same thing if they found another man in their house with their wife. I appreciate your understanding. That said, if we get another call about you and Mr. Lewis, we're going to have to take it more seriously. You won't get another call. Mr. Lewis knows he's not welcome here. After they left, I called Greg. The police came by about Jamar. What did you tell them? The truth. He was trespassing. I asked him to leave. He fell down. Good. Keep it simple. And Eddie? Yeah? Maybe it's time to install some exterior cameras. If he comes back, you want video evidence of him trespassing. Already on it. The next morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls from Vanessa's number, all received between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. I listened to the voicemails. Eddie, it's me. I know you're angry, but we need to talk. Eddie, pick up the phone. This is ridiculous. I went to the bank today. You emptied our accounts. That's my money, too. You can't just steal everything and pretend I don't exist. I talked to a lawyer. He says what you did with the house is fraud. Call me back, Eddie. We can work this out without lawyers. The last message was different. Her voice was shaky, like she'd been crying. Eddie, I know I messed up. I know I hurt you. But destroying my life isn't going to fix anything. I lost my job today. I can't afford the motel much longer. I don't have anywhere to go. Please, just call me back. We can figure this out. I deleted all the messages and blocked her number. Then I called Kenny. How's the social media monitoring going? Vanessa's been posting a lot. Mostly about how hard it is to start over and how some people show their true colors during a crisis. Anything specific about me? Not by name, but it's pretty obvious. She posted yesterday, when someone you love for 15 years shows you who they really are, believe them. What about Jamar? He's been quiet since the police thing. But Uncle Eddie, there's something else you should know. What? I did some digging on this guy. He's got a record, not just the attack thing you mentioned. He's been arrested 3 times for theft, twice for fraud, and once for identity theft. The guy's a career criminal. How'd you find that out? Public record search. It's all online if you know where to look. Good work, Kenny. There's more. I found some posts from other women. Looks like this guy has a pattern. He targets married women, gets them to leave their husbands, then bleeds them dry before moving on to the next one. That was interesting. Very interesting. Kenny, I need you to screenshot everything you found and send it to me. Already did. Check your email. I spent the next hour reviewing Kenny's research. Jamar Lewis wasn't just a bartender who happened to seduce my wife. He was a professional hunter who made a living destroying marriages and robbing women blind. 3 different women had posted about him online. Stories of whirlwind affairs, promises of love, pressure to leave their husbands, and then months of financial misuse before he disappeared with their money. One woman, Sarah Chen from Sacramento, had posted a detailed account. Ladies, beware of Jamar Lewis. This man seduced me, convinced me to leave my husband, took $15,000 of my savings, and disappeared. He targets married women and tells them exactly what they want to hear. He's a hunter and a thief. Another woman, Maria Gonzalez, had posted, Jamar Lewis is a liar and a fraud. He told me he loved me, got me to pay his rent for 3 months, and then I found out he was seeing 2 other women at the same time. Do not trust this man. The third woman had posted photos of Jamar with different women, all taken at the same restaurant, all with the same romantic setup. He was running the exact same scam on multiple targets. Vanessa hadn't just been cheating on me. She'd been played by a professional, and now I had all the evidence I needed to make sure everyone knew it. I printed out everything Kenny had found and put it in a manila folder. Then I drove to the motel where Vanessa was staying. The Sunset Inn was exactly the kind of place someone stayed when their husband had frozen their bank accounts and their boyfriend had stopped returning their calls. Peeling paint, broken neon sign, cars that looked like they'd been abandoned rather than parked. I found her room number and knocked. Who is it? Her voice was muffled through the door. It's Eddie. The door opened slowly. Vanessa looked like she hadn't slept in days. Her hair was unwashed, her clothes were wrinkled, and her makeup couldn't hide the dark circles under her eyes. Eddie, she said, thank God. I've been trying to reach you. I know. Can we talk? Please? That's why I'm here. She stepped aside and let me into the room. It was small, cramped, and smelled like cigarettes and desperation. Her clothes were scattered around, and I could see she'd been eating takeout for every meal. This is what my life looks like now, she said, gesturing around the room, because you decided to punish me for making a mistake. Mistake, I repeated. Is that what you're calling it? What would you call it? I sat down in the room's single chair and opened the manila folder. I'd call it being the sufferer of a con artist. What are you talking about? I pulled out the first printout and handed it to her. Jamar Lewis, real name Jamar Washington. Arrested 6 times in the past 5 years for theft, fraud, and identity theft. She stared at the paper, reading the arrest record. That can't be right. I handed her the second printout. Sarah Chen, Sacramento. Seduced by Jamar, convinced to leave her husband, lost $15,000. Then the third, Maria Gonzalez Fresno, same story, lost $12,000. And the fourth, Jennifer Wright Stockton, $8,000 in her grandmother's jewelry. Vanessa sank onto the bed, papers scattered around her. He told me he loved me, she whispered. He told them all that. He said I was special. You were special. You were the next Mark. She looked up at me, tears starting to form. How long have you known? I figured out what he was when I saw his texts about filming you for money. You knew he was using me, and you didn't warn me? I leaned forward. Vanessa, you were sitting on his lap in my living room, drinking my wine in the dress I bought you. You want to explain to me why I should have warned you about anything? She was quiet for a long moment, staring at the papers. He really was just using me. He was using you, and you were using me. The difference is, he's better at it than you are. What do you want, Eddie? Why are you here? I want you to understand something. This isn't about revenge. This isn't about punishment. This is about consequences. What's the difference? Revenge is personal. Consequences are just what happens when you make bad choices. She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. So what now? Now you figure out how to rebuild your life without my money, my house, or my help. Eddie, I know I hurt you, but we were married for 15 years. That has to count for something. It counted for everything. Right up until you decided it counted for nothing. I made a mistake. Stop calling it a mistake. Mistakes are things you do by accident. You planned this. You lied to me for months. You brought him into our house and laughed about how stupid I was. I never meant for it to go this far. How far did you mean for it to go? She didn't have an answer for that. I stood up and walked to the door. Vanessa, I'm going to give you some advice. Not because I owe you anything, but because I'm not a cruel man. What? Get out of California. Start over somewhere else. Because if you stay here, everyone is going to know what you did. And everyone is going to know what happened to you because of it. Are you threatening me? I'm stating a fact. This is a small community. People talk. Word gets around. About what? About the woman who threw away a 15-year marriage for a con artist who was just trying to steal her money? Her face went white. You wouldn't. I don't have to do anything. Jamar's ex-girlfriend already posted about him online. The other women he scammed are posting about him. Your name is going to come up in those conversations whether I say anything or not. Eddie, please. The divorce papers will be finalized next week. Don't contest them. Don't fight them. Just sign them and move on. What if I don't? Then this gets messier for you than it already is. I opened the door and stepped outside. Eddie, wait. I turned back. Do you hate me? I looked at her, sitting on that motel bed surrounded by evidence of how thoroughly she'd been played, and I felt something I hadn't expected. Pity. No, Vanessa, I don't hate you. Hate requires caring, and I don't care about you anymore. That's the difference between who you were and who you are now. I closed the door and walked back to my truck. The next morning, I got a call from Greg. Eddie, your wife's lawyer called. She found a lawyer, legal aid, public defender type. He wants to negotiate. What's his offer? She'll sign the divorce papers without contesting anything if you give her $20,000 to start over somewhere else. What's my counteroffer? What do you want it to be? She gets nothing. And she pays my legal fees for wasting everyone's time. Greg was quiet for a moment. Eddie, $20,000 might be cheaper than fighting this in court. I'm not paying her a dime. She made her choices and she gets to live with them. Are you sure? Dead sure. Okay. I'll call him back. That afternoon, Kenny called with another update. Uncle Eddie, Jamar got arrested again. For what? Probation violation. Apparently he missed a meeting with his PO and tested positive for cocaine. How long will he be in for? His probation gets revoked, probably 60 to 90 days. Good. There's more. Vanessa posted something on Facebook. What did she post? A long rant about how men are all liars and how she's learned that the people you trust the most are the ones who hurt you the worst. She mentioned me by name? No, but she tagged you in. Screenshot it and send it to my lawyer. Already did. That evening, I was sitting in my living room, drinking a beer and watching TV, when someone knocked on my door. I looked through the peephole and saw a woman I didn't recognize. Mid-40s, blonde hair, expensive clothes. She looked nervous. I opened the door. Are you Eddie Halston? Yeah. My name is Miriam Shaw. I'm a friend of Vanessa's. I recognized the name. Miriam was the friend who'd been pushing Vanessa toward the affair, the one who'd been in contact with Jamar before Vanessa had ever met him. What do you want? I want to talk to you about Vanessa. I'm not interested. Please, just 5 minutes. Against my better judgment, I let her in. Nice house, she said, looking around. Thanks. Vanessa always said you had good taste. Is there a point to this? Miriam sat down on the couch, uninvited. Eddie, I think there's been a misunderstanding. About what? About what happened between Vanessa and Jamar. What about it? It wasn't her idea. I sat down across from her. Whose idea was it? It just happened. You know how these things go? No, I don't. Why don't you explain it to me? Miriam shifted uncomfortably. Vanessa was feeling neglected. She said you two had grown apart. And Jamar was there. He was charming. He paid attention to her. How did Vanessa meet Jamar? At the bar, Fusion. We went there for drinks one night. Just the two of you? Yes. And Jamar just happened to hit on Vanessa? Well, yes. I leaned forward. Miriam, let me ask you something. How long have you known Jamar? Her face went pale. I don't know what you mean. It's a simple question. How long have you known Jamar Lewis? I just met him that night at the bar. That's funny because I have text messages showing you were in contact with him 2 weeks before that night. She stared at me like I'd just spoken Chinese. I don't know what you're talking about. I pulled out my phone and showed her a screenshot Kenny had found. Text messages between her and Jamar planning Vanessa's seduction. Miriam, she'll be at Fusion Friday night. Blonde, probably wearing black. Jamar. You sure she's got money? Miriam. Husband's loaded. Construction business owner. She's ripe for the picking. Jamar. What's in it for you? Miriam. Let's just say Vanessa and I have some history. You set her up, I said. Miriam's hands were shaking. It wasn't like that. It was exactly like that. You fed her to a hunter because you were jealous of her life. She had everything handed to her. Perfect house, perfect husband, perfect life. She never appreciated any of it. So you decided to destroy it. I didn't think it would go this far. What did you think would happen? I thought she'd have a fling. Maybe realize what she had with you and come to her senses. Instead, she lost everything. Miriam was crying now. I'm sorry. I didn't mean for this to happen. No, you're sorry you got caught. I stood up and walked to the door. Get out of my house. Eddie, please, get out or I call the police and tell them you conspired to defraud my wife. She ran for the door like the house was on fire. The next morning, I called Vanessa's motel. Room 127, please. I'm sorry, sir, but that guest checked out this morning. Did she leave a forwarding address? No, sir. I hung up and called Greg. Vanessa's gone, checked out of the motel this morning. Any idea where she went? No. But I want to proceed with the divorce anyway. We can do that. It'll just take a little longer to serve her. How much longer? Few weeks, maybe a month. Good enough. 3 weeks later, on a Tuesday afternoon that felt like any other Tuesday afternoon, she came back. I was in the garage, working on my truck's transmission, when I heard the car door slam in the driveway. I knew that sound. 15 years of marriage teaches you to recognize your wife's car door from 3 blocks away. I wiped my hands on a rag and walked outside. Vanessa was standing beside a rental car, holding a single suitcase. She looked thinner than when I'd seen her at the motel, and her hair was different, shorter. Like she'd been trying to become someone else and hadn't quite figured out who that was yet. Hello, Eddie. Vanessa, can we talk? We're talking. Inside? No. She set down the suitcase and crossed her arms. I came to apologize. Okay. That's it, just okay? What do you want me to say? I want you to let me explain. Explain what? Everything. What happened with Jamar, why I did what I did, how sorry I am. I leaned against the garage door frame. I already know what happened with Jamar. You got played by a professional con artist who was working with your friend Miriam to destroy our marriage. Her eyes widened. You know about Miriam? I know about everything. Then you know I was manipulated. I know you were stupid. She flinched like I'd slapped her. That's not fair. Fair? You want to talk about fair? Eddie, please. I know I made mistakes. Stop. Stop calling them mistakes. Mistakes are accidents. What you did was make choices. Bad choices, but choices. I was confused. You were selfish? I was lonely. You were married. She was quiet for a long moment, staring at the ground. What do you want me to say? I want you to say nothing. I want you to get in that rental car and drive away. Eddie, I love you. No, you don't. I do. I know I hurt you, but I love you. I've always loved you. You loved what I provided, the house, the security, the stability. You never loved me. That's not true. If you loved me, you wouldn't have brought another man into our house. If you loved me, you wouldn't have laughed about what a boring husband I was. If you loved me, you would have ended things with Jamar the first time he disrespected me. Tears were streaming down her face now. I was an idiot. I know that now. Yes, you were. But we can fix this. We can go to counseling. We can work through it. There's nothing to work through. We're getting divorced. The papers haven't been finalized yet. They will be. Eddie, please. 15 years has to count for something. I looked at her. This woman who'd shared my bed for a decade and a half, who'd promised to love and honor me until death do us part, who'd thrown it all away for a bartender who saw her as nothing more than a payday. 15 years counted for everything, I said, right up until you decided they counted for nothing. I can make this right. How? I'll do whatever you want. I'll be the wife you deserve. I'll never look at another man. You'll what? You'll be faithful to me because you got caught cheating? You'll respect me because your boyfriend turned out to be a criminal? You'll love me because you don't have anywhere else to go? That's not why. That's exactly why. She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. What do you want from me? I want you to leave. Where am I supposed to go? I don't know, and I don't care. Eddie, I don't have any money. I don't have a job. I don't have anywhere to live. You should have thought about that before you decided to destroy our marriage. You can't just throw me away like garbage. I'm not throwing you away. You threw yourself away. She stared at me for a long moment, like she was seeing me for the first time. When did you become so cold? When I realized that the woman I'd loved for 15 years never existed. I existed. I'm standing right here. No, you're not. The woman I married would never have done what you did. The woman I married had integrity. The woman I married respected our vows. People change, Eddie. Yeah, they do. You changed into someone I don't recognize, and I changed into someone who won't tolerate being disrespected. She picked up her suitcase and took a step toward the house. I'm not leaving. Yes, you are. This is my house too. No, it's not. I lived here for 15 years. And now you don't. You can't just lock me out of my own life. I'm not locking you out of anything. You walked out of your own life when you decided our marriage didn't matter. She dropped the suitcase and started walking toward the front door. Vanessa. She stopped and turned around. If you try to enter that house, I'll call the police and have you arrested for trespassing. You're bluffing. Try me. She stared at me for 30 seconds, 40, a full minute. Looking for some sign that I was kidding, that I would back down, that the Eddie she'd known for 15 years was still in there somewhere. He wasn't. Fine, she said finally. But this isn't over. Yes, it is. She picked up the suitcase and walked back to the rental car. Eddie? What? I need money, just enough to get back on my feet. Get a job? With what references? I lost my last job because of what you did. What I did? I didn't make you use company property for personal business. You called my work. You got me fired. I made an anonymous report about an employee who was violating company policy. They investigated and fired you based on what they found. Same thing. Not even close. She got in the car and rolled down the window. This is cruel, Eddie, even for you. You want to know what's cruel? Cruel is bringing your boyfriend into the house your husband bought, sitting on his lap while drinking wine your husband paid for, and laughing about what a pathetic man he is. I never said you were pathetic. You said I was boring. You said being married to me was like being married to a robot. You said I was so clueless it was almost sad. Her face went white. How do you know that? I know everything, Vanessa. Every text message, every phone call, every laugh you and Jamar shared at my expense. You were spying on me. I was protecting myself from a wife who'd become a stranger. She started the car. You've become someone I don't recognize. Good. The man you recognized was too trusting. The man you recognized was too forgiving. The man you recognized let himself be taken advantage of for months. I loved that man. No, you didn't. You used that man. She put the car in reverse and backed out of the driveway. Then she rolled down the window one more time. Eddie? What? You didn't break me. You built the man who could break you. She drove away without another word. I stood in the driveway for a long time, watching the rental car disappear around the corner. Then I walked back into my house, and closed the door. The next morning, Greg called. Eddie, we got the signed divorce papers. She signed them? Yesterday afternoon. No contest, no demands, no negotiations. She just signed them and had them notarized. Good. Eddie, can I ask you something? Sure. Do you feel better now? Now that it's over? I thought about that question. Did I feel better? Did I feel vindicated? Did I feel like justice had been served? Greg, for 15 years, I built a life with someone who I thought was my partner. Someone I thought understood the meaning of commitment and loyalty and respect. And then I found out that she'd been laughing at me behind my back while she screwed another man in my own house. I understand that, but do I feel better? No. I don't feel better. I feel like I wasted 15 years of my life on someone who never deserved them. But I also feel like I finally learned who I really am. Who are you? I'm the kind of man who fights back. 3 months later, I was having dinner at a restaurant downtown when I saw her. Vanessa was sitting at a table by the window, alone, picking at a salad she clearly couldn't afford. She was wearing clothes I didn't recognize. cheap clothes that didn't fit her properly. Her hair was longer again, but it looked like she'd cut it herself. She saw me at the same time I saw her. For a moment, we just stared at each other across the restaurant. Then she raised her hand in a small wave like we were old friends who'd run into each other by chance. I didn't wave back. I paid my check and left, and I never saw her again. But sometimes, late at night, I think about that last conversation in the driveway. About how she'd looked when she realized that the man she'd married was gone, replaced by someone harder, someone who didn't forgive, someone who understood that some things can't be fixed. She was right about one thing. She didn't break me. She built the man who could break her, and in the end, that man did exactly what he was built to do. The end.